We've got two fantastic founders here today for another workshop session. We're going to jump into Donna, and she's going to share with us a little bit about her story, how the business started, and what was involved in terms of bringing the product that she has now to market.
I worked in, and I'm still working in corporate communications, in marketing, and I've been doing that in big corporates for about 25 years. And to be honest, I probably started having a bit of a midlife crisis. I started thinking about what's next.
What has been the biggest kind of result so far that you've experienced in the last 3 months?
I launched end of Feb. I've reached my 10K in revenue, which is something that I just never thought was going to happen for me.
Karen, did you want to go through some of your background story?
I did work for IKEA for over 18 years, and pressure in those roles are extremely high. My husband has had his own business, and I could see how that really changed his life and our life as a family. Actually, I don't want to work for someone. The last 3 months, structuring my ad account for me has actually been a game changer. And, we tripled our turnover pretty much week one with Adrian.
Both of you guys are in that stage of 10 to 100K per month. And there are kind of categorical behaviors or problems that each of those levels, and they need to get solved in order to kind of unlock the next level of growth. Donna, tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you started your e-commerce business, and then how things kind of came about and what the results are since you've launched.
Thanks for having me on the show, Sasha. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, don't tell anyone, because what I'm doing before I started e-commerce, I'm still doing now. But anyway,
right, okay. Maybe we'll change your name then. We'll put a different alias online.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I worked in, and I'm still working in corporate communications, in marketing, and I've been doing that in big corporates for about 25 years. And look, to be honest, I probably started having a bit of a midlife crisis, and thought, this can't be it. I can't have reached all that there is, and certainly career-wise. And I started thinking about what's next. And
was there any? I'm just curious, real quick. Was there any moment that kind of became more clear to you in terms of a phone call, a day at work, something that you were like, really? Is that everything? Was there any specific moment that stands out, or not really?
Yeah, there's a moment. I have 3 girls, and my youngest is now 7, and we moved to Brisbane about 6 weeks after she was born, and so I had my maternity leave up here, and I started my back in my first job in Brisbane, started back after that maternity leave, and I was probably about 3 weeks in and still leaving the house at 7 a.m. like I did when I had 2 kids, and getting to into work. And I was dropping off my eldest daughter at my next door neighbour's, and I knocked on the door and had to open the door, morning guys, and just dropping Bronte off, and I'm seeing them there at their breakfast table having breakfast together while I'm on my way to work. And I just thought, what am I doing? And then the real kind of crystallization was when Jude, my youngest, turned about 4. And I thought, she's got 1 more year before she goes to school, and I've been working almost every day of that. And I thought, this is not how I want my life to be structured. So that's where that's my point. My point that kind of really crystallized that I wanted to build something different for myself.
Got it. Wow. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate the vulnerability. Yeah, it's very personal. And usually it is. Usually there's some moments like that I call it the fuck it moments, where you're like, fuck this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not going to continue with this. So I appreciate you sharing. And what happened from that point forward?
So COVID happened from there. And I spent the next 18 months locked down, and I mean, not like other cities or anything like that, but I really just thought hard about what next looked like for me, and whether that was getting into consulting or whether that was stepping up in my career. And I realized that I didn't want to be trading my time for money. That was not how I wanted to operate. And I also didn't want to be employed by somebody. So I started kind of exploring what other opportunities could look like. And I always talk about this. It's Naira's fishing shirt ad that stuck out to me because, of course, the idea of starting, an e-commerce business is, kind of floating here. But what the hell was I going to sell? I had no idea. So that really was a tipping point in terms of, okay, I'm signing up. And yeah, because she really just said, do you think I'm passionate about fishing shirts? And that landed with me big time because I thought, well, look at this glamorous woman. She's selling, I don't think she goes fishing. So that really got me. I thought, you know what? I'm in marketing. I sell things that I don't necessarily need to be, the avatar for. But funnily enough, I am the avatar for my product now. But
yeah, I was about to say that's interesting how it's kind of gone around.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes,
that's what.
But keep in mind, it's actually better.
Oh,
But it's better when you're the avatar. That's going to be something I will say that being the avatar is actually an advantage in this market. And one thing to know, just in terms of that time exchange, I do believe when you do a business, you actually work a lot, but it's very scalable. So that's the part where I think that people are not aware of is the scalability of the business you're doing. So the first year, it feels like impossible. You're giving everything into the business and you're not getting anything. But over time, it's actually compensate. And if you continue doing it, it's going to be less and less, and you regain that freedom. So I would say the curve is actually like you're going to start like essentially at that low skills, high time investment. And then over time, it's going to be high skills, low time investment. So it's going to go from high time, low skills to low time, high skills. So that's something that I've noticed in e-commerce and generally speaking in businesses.
I certainly need to hear that now because I've been having lots of late nights and weekends. So it's that's great to hear. But the learning is also part of this. So yeah, did you want me to keep kind of going on to where I went from there? So yeah, look, I started with the business and started with ecom, and I was that person with I have no idea, and my ideas were so disparate. It wasn't like I have a general feeling. But what I came to was that I was walking myself in a weighted vest that looks like I was about to raid a compound. And I would get these sideways glances on the street from people. And I thought, there has to be something that's kind of a bit more feminine. And I looked around and there was nothing that was targeting women. And so while I, went through that process, I realized that I have this opportunity here to be marketing a product that already exists. And that was certainly part of the lesson that and the learnings for me is that you don't have to come up with something that's proprietary if you can find something that exists that hasn't been marketed properly or to the avatar that you're looking at. So for me, certainly, in this category, it's really gym bro, hectic, strong men, and there's really not in Australia a lot of marketing for perimenopausal and menopausal women, and this is a crucial window for women's health in order for them to have a very healthy older age, for them to be building muscle, having a strong heart, getting some cardio exercise. But it's also the window where we are living these hectic lives. I've got 3 kids. They've got sporting requirements. I've got my own life. They've got school requirements. It is one of those busy times of life. So what this vest does is you can kind of double the output of the walks you're already doing. So that's where I've landed. I launched end of Feb. I've reached my 10K in revenue, which is something that I just never thought was going to happen for me. And definitely looking forward to scaling and learning more from here.
Love it. Thank you so much. Very, very interesting story. I'm keen to jump into some of the strategic things afterwards in terms of like how I think some of the key elements of what you've built so far, and then also some of the gaps in the market. I think there's some real big opportunities for you to double down on it and exploit even more and overcome a lot of the objections that I think your prospective customers have when they look at the product, that we can kind of work on in terms of messaging and angles and kind of like marketing offers. I think there's huge opportunity for that, but very, very excited to continue. Karen, did you want to go through some of your background story, how you kind of came to be, building the business that you are now building?
Yeah, so I've been in the retail industry for close to 20 years, I would say. Grew up in Sweden, born and raised in Sweden. I was taught from my parents that you go to uni, you get a good degree, you get a good job, you work hard, and you stay loyal to your company. And when you've been there for about 30 years, you get a gold watch. And so that's kind of how I came over to Australia with that sort of mindset that it was all about getting that, getting with a good organization and a good company, and you work your way up. And so I did work for IKEA for over 18 years, and it was a great company, and I absolutely loved my job. I was fortunate to move through many different roles. So I was marketing manager, I've been design manager, been a sales manager, had really big teams. And like I said, I really, really loved the company that I worked for, and I really loved all my different jobs that I had. And about a year and a half ago, I could sense that there was something coming. So I could sense that potentially there would be a restructure, but at the time I was a sales manager, and I thought, you're not going to be that silly to remove the sales manager position. But I thought, I've been with IKEA for such a long time. I also need to prepare myself and see what is out there in the market, and do I need to upskill? What else can I be doing? And I think, just like the corporate world, we put in a lot of time, energy, and effort. I was doing very, very long days, and the pressure in those roles are extremely high. And especially when you're not performing, retail home finishing at that time was on a decline. We had the peak during COVID, and then it sort of dropped. So a lot of pressure, high stress. And of course, that restructure came, and the position I had was made redundant. And what they did was they created a new role. So it was basically the sales manager's role and the customer experience manager role combined into one role, and that role would sit across 2 stores. And that for me was I just could not see how I would have a life. I have 3 boys, so family is really important for me. And I just could not see how that physically would work without me having to do, 60 plus hours a week. So I decided to take the redundancy, and I thought that was my fuck it moment.
Can I just pause? So did they say that the role was to be kind of like, your role was either like redundancy, or you take this kind of joint role across 2 stores and across 2 whole departments?
So my role was made redundant, and they created this new role, and they encouraged me to apply for this new role. Yeah. But I made a decision that I wouldn't, and that I would take the redundancy. Yeah. So that was a big, when you've been with a company for that long and you've lived in this little safety, bubble, it was quite confronting. I felt like I was going through a divorce. And then, of course, I had to come up with something that I wanted to do. And being in retail for so long, naturally, I go, okay, well, what else is there in retail that I can do at that level? Which turned out, there's not a lot that is actually on the same level. So I started to look into ecom. My husband has had his own business for almost 10 years, and I could see how that really changed his life and our life as a family. And I thought, actually, I don't want to work for someone. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of being on someone's watch, delivering results, the pressure. I want to do that for myself. So yeah, I joined Ecom Capital. A bit like you, Donna. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? But I had a few different ideas, and the number one thing for me, well, there were 2 things actually. Number one was I wasn't going to do anything that was related to home furnishing. I wanted to stay right away from that.
Enough trauma over in that. We're going to do something different.
Yeah, exactly. I need something else. But number two, and I think this is the really crucial thing, at least for myself, is you need to do something that you feel really passionate about. You know, I know, Donna, you were talking about a different story, but that for me, I felt like I need something. If I'm going to create content and I'm going to speak to this brand, it needs to be something that I feel 100% passionate about and that I can obsess over. So I sort of decided the field I wanted to be in. I also had a back surgery about 3 years ago that completely changed how I had to think about, you know, shoes and bags and what I wear and what I do. And so I decided to sort of lean into that. Like, what were my challenges and frustrations with bags, for instance? And so that's how the idea of Blank & Co. and the Muse bag was born. You know, it's small enough to carry your essentials, but it's really about making your everyday life easier and create versatility as well, so that you don't have to have 10 different bags and keep swapping and changing. And making sure that, especially, you know, you touch a bit, Donna, about perimenopause and menopause, but as we get older, like our shoulders and our neck, it's not good for us to wear big, bulky totes and make you feel unorganized. You can't find your keys or your phone. So yeah, I came up with this design for a bag, and here we are.
And I appreciate the story and also the vulnerability in terms of what you went through there, as well as the back surgery situation. What has been the biggest kind of like result so far that you've experienced in the last like 3 months in terms of launching and building the business?
So the last 3 months for me has actually been a game changer. And I think what it was, I got a new coach. And I felt like I was sort of just stuck in this same, you know, I'll create different content, do a different angle, do this, do that. And to be honest, I think when you come in a new environment, you obviously feed off people and you listen and you want to absorb, to a point where I actually forgot my knowledge about retail. Like, I'm a retailer, you know, I might not have experience in e-com, but I know how to sell and I know how to listen to customers. I know good design. So when I got this new coach, I felt like him and I were on the same page, and he actually, you know, broke it down for me, and we started to create some structure, because I felt the structure was missing before. It was just, oh, just try anything. Oh yeah, just put that on and get another reel out. Whereas, you know, Adrian for me really taught me about, you know, structuring my ad account, but also structuring my content and the creative angles. So that for me was the game changer. And that's actually when I started to see some real results. And, you know, we tripled our turnover pretty much week 1 with Adrian.
Yeah, I remember we had a strategy session where we talked about all the challenges you had and how to navigate that. And absolutely, strategy and structure, I've seen that in you. And we had that discussion around, well, I need to really have this plan. And I was like, okay, so I know sometimes you work with someone and, you know, the compatibility is not there. It happens sometimes. Communication, I feel like every person have a way. Like I have some people I work with super well and some people that don't like working with me. So I understand that as well. But the thing is, you know that this is kind of the thing. So I think we had this call and I was like, well, let's just prepare the plan, focus on the thing, and then let's make sure we adapt that part so that you are essentially building your business and growing. And yes, actually, Adrian told me about this. He was like, we're scaling. I'm like, okay.
And, you know, I think that's really rewarding to see as well. Like when you turn that page, you know, you live in your little bubble day to day, and, you know, you're going to check your ad accounts and create content. And you just feel like you sort of, when you're not seeing the results, you really got to be resilient. And so finally, when we could see the impact of the changes that we made, you know, it's amazing. And it's amazing feeling. And that's when you go, okay, well, actually, it is doable. I can scale from here even more. Sky's the limit.
And I love what you said there, also, Karin, around the so it's almost like you live in this little bubble, and sometimes it has you forget all the information that you know what I mean? And because of sometimes that relationship where it's like there is a lot of new stuff that you're learning, And so sometimes you actually like almost like deposition yourself and be like, oh, help me, or I'm not too sure. And it's like, hold on a second, like I actually do know, you know what I mean? I actually am really quite good at a lot of things. There's a few elements, and it's exactly what we said at the start of this call, where it's like that mindset towards this is my business. I'm not out here like, flailing around in the water like someone please help me. It's like I've got this product. I know who the avatar is. I am the avatar. I'm going to sell to that individual. I know exactly how they think and communicate. Now, let's get the right support to help me to grow the business. And that's kind of the relationship that it seems like you've got at the moment with Adrian, which is fantastic. Yeah, sensational.
And one thing, and I will tell you something here, is that right now you're learning, like the version you have, like all the things you know are kind of limited because media buying, I know it's a new thing and you're learning about the tactics of it. And it's also not always all the time logical, like the setups we look at and the things we do, particularly in a world where AI is coming in and disrupting everything. But the thing is, if I was to equip like you have like more skills, so you know how to do the ad account and you know how to do all these things, you're going to actually drive the business even faster. So I think about this is a level where you're learning. So we are thinking about you potentially as you're the bottleneck at this level. But as you grow and time kind of pass, you see more the things, so you understand more the ad account. And I think Donna mentioned this as well earlier around, I don't know what to do next. So it feels like I need to learn and observe about like, know how to manage the ad account, how to do these small things. But the thing is, you do it, you're continuously going to do this thing every single time, and you're going to be like, I know everything at a moment. So it's going to be like, I see everything and I can actually implement the things that I know that could change everything. The account manager doesn't know the product the way you know it. It doesn't, like, there are some limitations. So when you're equipped with that skill, you're going to be almost like unbeatable. Just you're going to be driving this forward. So it's very exciting to see that.
Super exciting. Yeah, very good. Let's jump into some of the, I guess, like recommendations for the two businesses. Now, both of you guys are in that stage of like 10 to 100K per month, right? That's kind of like the level of, I guess, like problems that you are going to be solving in this stage. And Hamen and I have had tons of discussions with lots of different founders about scaling through these different levels. We've also seen hundreds, if not thousands, of different businesses graduate through that level as well. And there are kind of categorical, I guess, like behaviors or problems that each of those levels, 10 to 100, 100 to a million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million per month, that need to happen. And they need to get solved in order to kind of like unlock the next level of growth. And so I think if you think about it from that lens, or you think about it from like, okay, so the current problems that I'm experiencing right now, they are conducive of where I'm at. You know what I mean? It's not like something's wrong with me, or I'm a bad entrepreneur, I'm a bad operator, maybe I'm just horrible at these things. It's like these problems that both of your businesses are experiencing right now, it's like it's very normal. And it's very typical of founders in this stage. 10 to 100K per month happens all the time, like clockwork, over and over again. And so if we go first things first, which I think is the most important, perhaps like maybe psychological anchor, is like, I am not broken. Okay, cool. It should not feel different to what it does. It feels chaotic. It feels disorganized. It feels like any day now my business might just stop and turn off, and all this progress that we've made might just immediately vanish, and I'm left with nothing. That whole, thinking that you might be having right now, probably are having day to day, when maybe you have a low sales day and you go, yep, that's it then. I knew this day would come. I knew that.
I was going to say this. The thing that I've heard the most is, I'll tell you, is that this is the last sale. We're never going to get sales again. I have it's been 3 days. We're done. I don't think we're going to get this again. That fear, I've seen it so many times. Or I'm never going to be profitable. Or I've actually heard something else. I'm spending on ads. I feel like I'm going to spend like this forever. I'm never going to be making money. So you're going to have all these things that we've seen many times. And obviously the one, I'm never going to get another sale, that's a very popular one.
So I think first things first, ladies, is just making sure that like that whole, because I think one thing that increases the level of suffering that you have in the process of building the business, it's like, if you think about what we discussed earlier on, so both of you came from corporate environments, high pressure environments, and the suffering that you experienced there was maybe more gradual and kind of just like almost like a little, rock in your shoes. You kind of like, it's a bit frustrating, it's a bit annoying, but it's not going to like break your leg or anything. So you don't do anything to change it. Whereas sometimes the suffering that you experience as you're building a business, it's more like a fire hose. You're like, oh my God, it's like every direction. There's so many things happening all at the same time. And you feel like you're getting pummeled a little bit, right? And you're like, good God, is this ever going to relent and get easier? And so I think, like to begin with, it's also like what I said. So you can make that experience way harder for yourself if you go, it should not feel like this, or I should not be going through so much difficulty, or maybe someone else with their business and their product has it easier than me. All that does is it makes you feel worse than just being like, okay, this is the stage that I'm at. It kind of sucks, but I don't really know anything yet about this business. So what do I expect? Of course, I'm going to need to learn more. Of course, I'm going to need to figure more stuff out. And learning more means you're going to need to stretch and grow, which is usually difficult. Staying where you are is not very difficult and it doesn't really hurt, but getting to new levels always is like, you got to break the muscle and you got to do that rapidly. And that involves some pain. And so I think first things first is like the stage that you're at is normal. Normalize that so you don't feel like you're the black sheep, you're the weirdo, you're the person that's just like out there and having to create content and feel like you're doing something wrong, or maybe you're the one person that everything's just not going according to plan. Very normal, all right? And then I think I'll go into some things for you, Donna, specifically. So I think some of the main areas that I believe, and we discussed this a little bit at the event previously that we had at the AI workshop. I think some of the key areas that you want to focus on is what you said there around, so the benefits of the product. So you said a couple of different things. You said, number one, all the products in the market are like the tactical kind of like body armor. You know what I mean? You're going to go and perform a terrorist act or rob a bank or something like that. That's what it looks like. You know, you see that thing and you're like, oh, good God, what's she doing? Is she got a knife in her hand? You know what I mean? Like, it looks pretty aggressive. And so I think like strong comparison focused advertising is going to be very, it's going to get a lot of penetration and cut through, if that makes sense, in terms of people who may have been like you that know that that's what weighted vests look like because they've seen them, but they don't know that another alternative exists that looks like yours. You know, that's the other thing. And then the other area that I think from an angle perspective is really key is also what you mentioned there around the benefits that you can get from the vest that extend beyond just like putting it on and walking. When it's like when you think about doing that, you don't think of muscle gain, really. You don't really think of obviously metabolic kind of like experience. You feel like you might get, you know, more of a sweat on faster. But so the framing that you want to be positioning the product around is not like, here's another weighted vest. What you want to be framing it around is like a solution. And so if you tap deeper into the menopause, perimenopause, that whole situation, you go, okay, so women in this age bracket that experience this thing, they generally will reduce or lose muscle at this rate. Their bone density will reduce at this rate. Their cardiovascular situation will also reduce at this rate. Like that happens, scientifically proven, right? Now you can go to the gym for an hour a day, 3 days a week, run on the treadmill for 45 minutes a day for another 3 days a week. That total sum, 6 hours per week, is going to get you this result. Alternatively, you can wear this vest for half an hour per day, right, while you are walking the dog and taking the kid out and get the same benefit. Does that make sense? Because what you're looking for, the target, right, for this individual that you are speaking to, they are the individual that you were when you walked into your neighbor's front room, right? Busy, stressed, no time. They're compromising their own workouts. They're not going to the gym themselves because they're like, why? I just don't have time for it, right? And so what you need to prove is that your product is not just this cool looking, colorful vest, but it is a new solution that's going to combat all of that degradation from a bone density, muscle, and also cardiovascular health level, right, through a lesser amount of input. It's very, very similar to what I would recommend a lot for you is I would look very deeply into the marketing behind the P90X system that was created, which was like this like exercise-based system. I put it into the training modules where they use this muscle confusion technology to get crazy ripped and shredded, right? And so what it was framed up around was not like a video cassette series that you get in your home I don't know, you press play on and you go into your lounge room and do some dances and stuff. But it used this idea that in just 15 minutes, you could play this CD or this video cassette on your television, and using this special mechanism, muscle confusion technology, all of a sudden you would lose 4 times the body fat and increase your muscle by 4 to 5 times. And so that whole mechanism created this blow up effect because it was seen as a solution to a problem and not seen as video cassettes that you watch on your television. Does that make sense? And so, and what that's going to do is it's going to reframe the positioning of your product to be something that is of superior value, right? It's like, okay, you're going to buy a weighted vest, but it's like you're going to buy this product that actually solves this solution, solve this problem, and this problem in a unique way, by also having to invest 20% of the time that it would otherwise take you to go to the gym, drive to the gym, do the workout, go to the cardio, hop on the treadmill, that whole thing, not to mention the cost, the gym membership, this, all these additional things are all absolved into this one solution. And so the better that you can frame your product around that, the easier it is for people to be able to attach value to it and also get better outcomes, because the outcome that people see in the ads is what they will want to get when they use the product. And so if it's framed up as like, okay, well, this is just a product here that's going to help you to, I guess, like go walking and, burn some calories and do it faster. It's like, okay, cool. Like that's how they're going to see it. But if they see it as something that can transform their entire routine, build more muscle mass, and do it in a smaller amount of time in terms of like within this period, experience this result in only 30 minutes per day, whatever that looks like, you need to move heavily into solution-based selling and not products, features, and benefits. Like this is the ultimate kind of like focus for you from a messaging perspective. And then the other thing that is important is all of the potential objections of your product need to be wrapped up and baked into the guarantee, as well as the way that you communicate the vest. So if you think about it, what you said before, what do people most commonly think about when they want to wear it, when they think even maybe about wearing a vest? Big, ugly thing, throw it on, I'm going to look like an army trooper. Like these are the things that come up immediately. And so how do we offset those things with either the guarantee or either bonuses or particular language that talks to that? All right. The guarantee is the strongest thing, taking the most primary overarching objection, either I don't have enough time or it's going to be ugly. These are the things that females in that category would probably think of at the highest level. We want to overcome them the most and also make comparisons to, like I said, existing products that exist in the market. And also, so it's like comparisons exist either in a direct comparison, meaning here's a vest and here's a better vest, or comparisons exist in the same way that IM8 and Athletic Greens all make their marketing claims. They go, here is the massive supplement list that you use every single day. Tablet, 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 powder, tablet, tablet. All of those things cost $1,600 per month. Now you can get this in one simple green scoop for $99 a month. Holy shit. You mean to... Do you understand? We're not selling the same thing anymore. We're not comparing to greens. We're in a completely different category. And so you need to kind of do packaging and wrapping and messaging and angles that align similarly with that outcome. Athletic Greens and IM8, they are great examples also for you because they speak to that whole like problem that people spend a lot of time measuring out different, potions and capsules and stuff to get an outcome, when you can take one scoop and you can get way better outcomes in way less time. And it tastes better and you feel cool and it looks good. And celebrities also endorse it. And so that's kind of the direction you want to go into. We're not just selling vests. We're repackaging their entire fitness experience for particular individuals in that category that have that one specific problem. And you're doing it for them so they can look better in less time.
Yes. Just from a creative structure, this is something I want you to... So when you're, let's say, looking at your ad account, I know it's very overwhelming looking at an ad account, but your goal is to build an army of winning ads. You need to think about it like that. So all the things that Sasha told you about, you should think about. Right now, I have maybe one ad talking about this, or two creatives, or three. And the goal is, and this is something I've noticed across all the brands that are doing 15, 20, 30, 50K, so up to 100K, their bottleneck is just they don't have enough winning ads. So they're trying to fight a game they can't actually win because they're not building enough winning ads. So the goal will be, it's not, am I like, let's say, spending more on ads? That's not the goal. It's, am I actually getting enough winning ads? Because when you start, and I'll use an example of Alex Hormozy, I think he mentioned this, when you start like the fight in a business, you're like against a bear with a stick. And then later on, you build skills and you're essentially with an army. So it's an easier kind of win even against a dragon. The same thing with the ads. When you start, you're running one ad, it's one winning ad, it's you against the world with one ad. It doesn't work, right? And it's going to be unprofitable. It's going to be unscalable. It's going to be like, well, I get a sale a day, then I get nothing. It's like almost like a heart attack every time you run an ad. But if you get more winning ads, you build that momentum, it's going to be you with an army. I want you to have that army. So my recommendation for you is not necessarily to be reckless in terms of ad spend, but build that volume of creatives. Because if you have an army of winning ads, guess what? You can slay dragons. That's not going to be the problem. You can scale to 100K. Make sense?
I also just want to share this here because I think this is directly applicable to, let me just get this, in the stages that I'll outline here. So Eugene Schwartz, he talks about these stages of awareness and then also how to, you can see my screen fine? Yeah, cool. So he talks about these stages of awareness, okay, which is essentially like how aware people are of initially the product, or you have completely unaware people, right? Which, I don't think that you ever want to put any budget or any attention here, right? And then additionally, if we move down to the next stage, we have people who are problem aware, and they might be in your case, Donna, as an example, or your case, Karin, they might be aware that something, it's like my back, something's going on with my back, and it just, I don't know what it is. It feels like a bit sore. My neck at the end of the day, it's a bit tight. I get the massages, nothing really happens. I got this stiffness, right? Then they go into the solution aware stage where they go, okay, cool. I could maybe get one of these like neck massages. I could perhaps get like one of those posture correctors. I could do some stretching in the afternoon and maybe do the yoga. Maybe that might do it. I could, I'm not sure, change my seat at work. So they become aware of some solutions to the problem. Does that make sense? But they're not aware yet that your product is the solution. They're just aware that there are particular, perhaps, solutions available to help them with the pain that they're experiencing. And then we go into the product aware. They've now selected or they've now identified the fact that in this stage here, I've noticed that it's my heavy backpack that I wear on one shoulder that pulls my whole entire spine out of whack. And that is the thing that I need to solve, right? So I become product aware. And then I go, now I need to change my backpack. And I'm evaluating which backpack, which other solution is going to be most appropriate for me to solve the problem that I have. Make sense? Then I go into, I've decided that Blanca & Co. is the most appropriate bag or some variation of that thing. And then I need a really strong urgency-based offer to purchase. All right. And this is very similar to what Adrian has outlined in your account as well, Karin. Different stages of that funnel, different stages of that awareness, very similar. But the reason that I wanted to demonstrate this is because most people, from a marketing perspective, they're usually in these kinds of categories, right? And so we don't want to go and put attention and energy into these ones because it costs a ton of money to go and try and randomly educate people as to, oh, you actually have a problem. Did you know that your back's sore? It's like, oh, come on, we don't have money for that. And so the reason I wanted to just highlight this is because what I was saying there to yourself, Donna, as far as the solution, what people look for the most in terms of, especially when they're in this stage here, evaluating options, which most people are. Okay, most products have been seen before. Most things that I guess people run advertising to, oh yeah, I've seen that. Oh yeah, I've seen that. And so the ultimate question that every consumer has is, why is your product different and better than the previous ones that I've used. Does that make sense? And so if we double click into what I was saying with yourself, Donna, around, okay, people have seen. Do people know that weighted vests exist? Yes. Have they maybe tried them before? Yes. Have they seen other people wearing the military come in and kick your door in version? Yes. It's like, okay, so all of that is true, and they don't accurately or definitively know that the solution that the weighted vest actually provides solves the biggest problems that they have because it's not been expressed in that specific way. And so what we're doing here is we're not reinventing weighted vests. We're not all of a sudden like trying to, again, put lipstick on a pig and say our weighted vest is the best. We're not doing that, right? What we're doing is we're saying the use of this mechanism, right? The problem that we're solving is muscle loss, bone density, and, for example, cardiovascular decline. These are the three problems in this particular avatar, right? And we're not trying to, like I said, reinvent the wheel or do anything. We're simply positioning a mechanism that they haven't perhaps been exposed to, or maybe they've overlooked only being available for fitness bros or, I don't know, jack dudes, that could actually solve their problems, right? And so it needs to be framed up, like I said, as this solution. So they think to themselves, what we're trying to achieve here is when the solution and when the uniqueness of this explanation, the mechanism of change, because people go, I'm here and I want to get here. I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. None of that crap worked and I didn't stick to it at all. Why is this product going to work this time, right? And so the uniqueness and the way that you kind of describe your offer or your product or your solution to people is one of the most important things, right? Because people go, oh, I see. You see, I've been trying to go to the gym and I've been trying to take my dog for a walk and I've been trying to go on the treadmill or have my bike at home and do cardio at 8 p.m. at night. And then my sleep gets impacted because my cortisol is through the roof. Now I get it. I didn't even realize that there was this one solution that could actually offset all of those things and I can get better results in less time, right? And so how you describe the problem in terms of the way that the problem's been experienced and then the mechanism that your product offers to plug that gap in a unique way. Like I said, this, whether it's 30 minutes per day, whether it's achieving this benefit, this benefit, this benefit, that is what's going to get the most attention, because when the offer communicates so clearly to the individual how, in this unique way of how, it's like we help perimenopausal women who are experiencing fatigue, sleep issues, muscle loss, and also perhaps weight gain in just 30 minutes a day experience this, all of these strong benefits through using insert unique product, which isn't unique, but it's been wrapped and framed in a way where all of a sudden it feels like, my God, I've seen those guys wearing it. Now I get it. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that that was possible. I thought that that was just for people who were jacked and they wanted to look like military guys. I didn't realize that this was available to me. Does that make sense? We're creating that transformation where people go, oh, now I see. And so both of you are very, very in this stage here, solution aware in terms of solution, but most importantly here, evaluating options. And the biggest differentiator, or the way that you overcome this stage and help people move into the buying stage, is through the uniqueness of your offer, the uniqueness. And you're only able to get unique or be unique if you are very specific with who you target, specific in your messaging, specific in the way that you communicate, specific in the offer, the language, the terminology, the specific like words they say in their mind when they go to bed at night. And the more clear you can be with that, the more you can speak to one or two particular people only. Everything else is waste. And then you can create world-class transformations that help your business to grow insanely profitable. And it also makes it easier for you to market, because you go, how do I write an ad? Oh, I'm not sure what it's that's gone. You just go, what is that particular word that they say when they put their kids to bed at night and they know that they're looking at their smartphone and thinking, God damn, another freaking day that I wasted and I didn't work out today. What gets said then? And how do I overcome that in my messaging so that that solves a problem? Is that clear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add, Hamen, onto this, or just anything in general for on Donna's side specifically?
Yes, I'll just tackle like quickly that when you're doing content as well, and I know this is very challenging, but organizing your content properly. That's very important. And think about something. You could do different formats and you could do different angles. So let's say I'm doing a testimonial, right? You can start talking about pain points. You can mention like things around social proof. It can be an how to. It can be a lifestyle content. So you could do a lot of formats that could be, again, with different angles. So every time you're thinking about, well, like you mentioned, winning ads and how to do that, and you've seen the level of awareness, right? You need to think about, well, this level of awareness might require this format, and this level of awareness might require this exact thing. And as I mentioned, you have many formats. You can do testimonials, UGC selfie, reaction videos. You can do spokesperson, POV, founder-led content, demo, like so many things we can leverage that are different format with different angles. So definitely you need to use that to know what is working with your audience. And as you do that, you can actually be able to push people from levels that of awareness. And not only that, you're going to be able to convert them. And the idea here on my end, if I was looking to scale a business, how can I build, again, an army of winning ads using what we just discussed? So yeah, that's my view on it.
Karin, let's go through some things. Is that helpful, Donna, what we've covered there?
Yeah, it's excellent. Thank you.
Good. And so let's go into yours a little bit, Karin, because I think slightly different in terms of the way that your brand is positioned, mainly from the perspective of there's two parts to this. And I speak about this a lot in the training, where we sell from the perspective of either pain or unfulfilled desire, right? And so Donna, I think, is very clearly in that pain section, right? In terms of she is specifically helping females in this particular stage who experience this thing, and they feel like they're in a position of pain, right? So we're trying to transform them into a position where they feel better and they feel perhaps more normal. They feel more kind of like, this is how I'm supposed to feel, if that makes sense. And so I think on your side, Karin, it's a little bit different, because yours is, some of it is going to be status, some of it is going to be based around kind of like how the product looks, and then the desire element and that feeling of like wanting to feel and look better. So run me through in terms of at the moment, in terms of in your funnel, what is the average order value of the product at the moment?
Well, at the moment, the last month it's actually been pushed up to $300. So we had a jump from 290 up to 300 since the beginning of April. So we decided to actually remove the discount because of how we want to position Blanca as a business and as a brand. So initially I would have discounts on the product, but it just didn't sit right with me because, I'm trying to position this as a premium brand. So we then developed a different offer where we actually give this chain strap for free to the customer. So basically you now get 2 bags for the price of 1, because you can change the strap out, just to try to create some added value for the buyer.
Together here. So this is the main product that is selling the most, is it? The Muse bag? Yep. Nice, I see. And so is this the strap, or is there's an additional strap?
So there is an additional, so it comes with that leather strap, and then you get the gold chain strap for free.
Got it. I understand what you mean. Yeah, nice. I like the idea of that. Very good. Okay, nice. Average order value is good. Any repeat purchase yet, or is it all new business so far?
So I've had a couple, and I've actually this week, because I've now introduced a new color that we launched on Monday. So this week I actually had 2 customers buying a black and a white.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that was kind of, I guess the direction here is like, I think that what's the use case for this bag? Is this something that is used daily to kind of like just consolidate the most important essentials and help? That's the main purpose, right?
Yeah.
Got it. And so I think what you mentioned there around the white and the black as an example, after being subject to purchasing multiple bags for my wife, you need a bag in every color, right?
Oh, don't you?
And then even when you got all the colors, you need the different sizes and you need the different straps. You need all the different things. And it's like, oh my God, it's wild. So I think there's a real opportunity for you specifically, because who is the avatar? It looks like a well-positioned, high status kind of like worker professional, but like, that kind of edgy chic female. Would that be right?
Yes. So my typical customer is between 35 to 55, professional, likes to travel on the weekends, little getaways, does Pilates and yoga, live, busy lives, and just really are looking for something that they can just take with them quickly for when they're running around and do all their errands or work or whatever it might be.
Yes. So I think similar to what I mentioned there. So it's like the first product that people purchase, they will buy it out of impulse because it looks nice and unique, and it looks like it kind of like solves that problem in terms of the way the bag is positioned. It looks very like chic, it looks very minimalist, and it looks very convenient to use. Like you look at it and you're like, I can see how that would work. And so you may have two different types of people that come through, and you have different buyer profiles in terms of people that are like, all right, I'm just going to test the water a little bit and see how it is. And then afterwards, I will buy more, as an example. But the main focus, I think, for you to scale this business is to scale the amount of times that people purchase all of the colors, right? And either that's done on the front end with bundles of black and white, and you may come up with some fancy naming conventions of what that actually looks like. Perfect example here. So let me just pull this up. This is a great example, and the reason I want to demonstrate this, it's a very different product. But what we did here is, I will share my screen in just a moment. Yeah, we're going new normal. Not this one. This one here. Okay, so let me show this. So what we did here in terms of, this is David and Joanne's, and so this is a bundling situation that we put together here for their product, which are some of these patches that help with certain ingredients that help also the menopausal type situation sleep better, deal with some of those conditions, right, to feel more normal. And so initially, some of the structure that was on the website here was focused around, for example, the starter, something like the medium, the premium, or the, exclusive, as an example. And the reason I'm just highlighting this is because the naming conventions matter so much, right? So much. Because all that we did is we restructured the naming conventions on these bundles here, and then positioned it so that obviously the most chosen and the most premium is aligned with the outcome that the individual avatar wants to get. So if we go, okay, first relief, okay, I'll probably get a little bit of relief. Okay, the reset, okay, nice. This is starting to get a little bit of a reset in terms of the experience. Reclaim yourself. This is the thing that I most want. I'm missing this the most right now, and I want to get this outcome, right? And then also potentially this one, which is the new normal, which is actually set up more so as a price anchor to make the reclaim yourself seem more affordable. Does that make sense? And so I'm not saying to go and grab this and do the same thing, but I'm just saying some of the language that you might position your product around in terms of, even if it's just the one, bag that might be purchased to begin with, followed by how that's positioned as the secondary not necessarily upsell, but the bundle that could be kind of created there to be the white and the black, whether it's the, sophisticated exec or something that you frame up around there that helps them to go, I want that, not because it's a cheaper price, but because it's more aligned with the identity outcome that they want, right? And so when you sell into identity in terms of what we're doing here with this product, we're not selling anything else except for outcomes and identity shifts, which goes from first relief, that's nice. Reset, feels kind of good. Yeah, I can feel myself feeling like a little detox. Reclaim yourself, that is identity cell language, meaning I am transforming who I am back to my old self, my younger self. And so what is the identity of the individual that you are selling to that always feels organized, has the perfect suite and collection of shoes, bags, belts, the whole entire situation that matches, and that always leaves the house and gets complimented by all of her friends for having the perfect matching kit. It's how do we tap into that and have the product become more than just a one-off kind of purchase into something that goes, okay, if you've purchased one, that's okay, but you must have them all. You know what I mean? It's like you need to have them in every single color for the day and for the night and for, for Italy and for, LA at the same time. Like you need to frame it around that so they see themselves not just buying it to have a nice, cute bag for the phone, but to tap into their identity of like, this is the type of person that I am. I'm the type of person that has one fit for every solution, every situation, every moment, and it matches perfectly, and it just does the job with the same level of practicality. So I think that's going to be one thing, and bags can be a challenging thing for that reason, because sometimes people can purchase the one-off, right? And so for you, if this was a much bigger bag, it would be more challenging to go and like resell in different colors. But I think the beauty of the product is in the fact that it's nice and small and practical and very convenient. So it's seen as like a practical, really good looking accessory versus like a very like over the top statement piece that you'd only have one of. Does that make sense? Like some bag, you have one of those things and it's weird and it's got the big brooch on it and you tie the scarf around it and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm only having one of that thing. But something like this, it's kind of giving more of an opportunity for you to go, this is something that you have in every colorway. So you're like fully convenient and you grab the white, you grab the oat, you grab the black, and you're set for any occasion. So I think there's a really strong opportunity to sell laterally to the same customers and do this in two ways, either on the site or also through the emails, which must be done from both of you guys. The amount of money that I see getting left on the table from founders in your stage between that 10 and 100K level, because they're not communicating and building relationships. There's one client, I won't share their name. We had a coaching call. They had a list of purchasers and not even subscribers, meaning people that actually had purchased their product that they had not been sending any emails to at all. Okay. What they did is we went through an audit. We looked at how much money they could be making if they were sending emails. They were kind of shocked and in horror, and then they started sending emails. And then because they hadn't been sending emails to their list for such a long time, such a large percentage of the customers, meaning purchasers, not subscribers, didn't want to or weren't opening the emails, being seen as spam. And so they had to suppress about 400 people from their list because they were just inactive. So essentially they paid for all these people, had them purchased, and then started emailing to the whole lot. And then because 40% of them were not even reading, opening, clicking, nothing, we had to suppress them, which is essentially like put them in the bin and only speak to 60%. Does that make sense? And so the relationship that you can build through your emails, it does multitudes of things. Number one, it informs what type of communication works really well with your ideal purchasers, ideal customers. Hey, they respond really well when I do like a really scrappy founder-led email, or they respond really well when I write about like, I don't know, the feature or something funny about the bag or a personal story about me and my transformation. They love that in the email. And so we grab that from the email and we put it into your paid ads, right? Because we go, okay, so if people here are buying, engaging, opening, responding, loving this content, then chances are if I do more of it in cold traffic, I'm going to attract more of the right quality customer. Does that make sense? And so the email component, guys, for both of your businesses, when you start out, usually the repeat customer rate is in that range of 5%, maybe 10%, in those ranges. And the biggest focus always, exactly like what Hamen just mentioned, should be on building that creative army of a massive force so you can scale. And this isn't to say you should all of a sudden switch all your attention to email and just start sending emails, because you don't have many people on your list. But 3 emails per week to your list. And because, look, with how easy it is at the moment with all of the AI tools that you have available, there's no excuse to not do it. But with products like yours, especially Carden, in terms of this bag, multiple color sells, cross sells, gifting opportunities, you can take one purchase and turn it into 2 or 3 very easily for those reasons. And then in addition to that, you take that information in terms of, hey, it seems like when I send an email 4 weeks after people purchased and I offer an opportunity to buy for a friend or discount for a friend or gift card for a friend, the take rate on that is huge. Interesting. So how about I lead with that on the front end? Makes sense? And you start to have this kind of like mechanism, this marketing machine where the back end, which is the ideal people, right? It's very similar. So in Ecom Capital, I do the same thing. I have a harvesting machine that harvests through AI all of the things that happen in the entire community, all the messages, conversations, not messages, but coaching calls, transcripts, conversations, etc. It spins it up into an algorithm and it gives me topics on a daily basis of what the problems are that people are having. And then I go and create product content about that, and I go and create ad content about that. Because if this is happening right now and people are talking about this, I need to solve it, number one, and then I need to also use it in marketing because it's going to attract more of the same quality people. Does that make sense? So very much the same opportunity exists here to expand the data that you're collecting here and then use it to make better purchasing decisions for future customers and current customers in your list. Does that make sense, kind of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great opportunity there. Hamen, do you want to go through any particular things on your side, my friend?
Yeah, so I have like some things that I wanted to share with you. So when you're looking to advertise, and this is again just from a recent kind of things that I'm seeing, um, most of the time you can look at the positive and the dream outcome, right? So we're gonna show them something and they just see it, they want it, and they buy. What I've seen recently is actually going opposite with a trauma angle, which I know it's not necessarily positive, but it's kind of positive if you look at it that you're providing a solution, right? But you mentioned a story and you mentioned some things that are very particular into your product that could be around positioning and kind of, let's say, the size and all of that. I would potentially go with that. I'll go with, well, if my product can help a little bit, or even if I can do some research and see that, we have something that doesn't hurt and doesn't cause that damage, or the others are actually causing damage, I'll do the trauma angle. I'll be like, hey, don't do this, get this. And I'll be more aggressive on that and I'll share it into all the formats. And actually, I've seen a business, just so you're aware, one of the clients we have went from 300, 500K per month, which is already a lot, to 1.3 million in revenue in 30 days, which it's a case study that we shared in the 10K call. And that person, what they did was the trauma angle. They went with, I'm going to do something that's going to show them why they should buy my product more than anything, with an avatar that had a trauma story about not actually, let's say, getting this kind of product. So on my end, my recommendation is, you mentioned that's a little bit your story around things you did. So you can actually build this angle with you. You can go with, well, this is me, this is what happened, and this is why I built this entire thing. And my recommendation, if I was to give you another, like let's say, hack that we've seen, if you create a social page that's not your brand, you as a person, let's say you're the celebrity, right? And you run the ad in your ad account as a collab. So you appear first, your brand appears second. You can put priorities first, second, right? So what they're going to see is they're going to see a person. People don't really know the difference between an ad and just an organic post. They're going to see the person that's you with your profile talking about the story. If you're the avatar, you're going to convert like crazy. And that's what I'm seeing right now perform. So what I would recommend is, if you're the avatar or one of the segments of the avatar, I would definitely do that trauma angle, put myself as a social page, run a collab ad with my brand, and then position that. I've seen a business, so that you're aware of this, in the 10K plus call that we have on a weekly basis. She tripled her revenue with this angle, tripled, with 7 ROAS, never seen before. So that's why I actually asked you earlier if you joined the call, because we were sharing exactly this case study. So definitely something to look at, collab ad, and how you can leverage that.
And I think that's genius. It's very, very good in terms of, because you have had that experience as well. And so it's framing up like, this is what happened. I had to get surgery. I didn't know what it was from. And I actually figured out it was from my bag. And for that reason, I've been on a mission for the last 3 years to create this product, like the damage that can be done to your spine, et cetera. And I think, Donna, you have the same thing available to you as well in terms of that. I've seen some of the examples that Hamen is mentioning, and it's wild. It's insane because I guess it's also like pain or fear is so much more of a attention-grabbing emotion than fun and desire and, wow, this is pretty and it's very beautiful. It's like, obviously the news knows this very well, which is why they blast the hell out of every single individual with every news story that's fear-based and just the world is crashing. You must go into complete terror mode, So, but I think there's genuine stories for both of you in terms of like that are available right here. Naira also did something very similar in the Basu account recently, where she did that angle of like, this is what my skin used to look like. And it's like the full blown of her skin, and it just crushes. Because also, I think the thing that is a layer above that, and I was actually writing some content about this yesterday, with all of the AI stuff that is getting pushed into the market at the moment, I call it like the AI slop, in terms of it's so easy to spit out and create stuff that's like, okay, it's kind of good. You know what I mean? Anyone can read it and be like, yeah, I get pass, but it's not memorable. It's not memorable because it doesn't have that experiential layer. And any of you that read it and listen to it, you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's like reasonable to say. And like, yeah. And then it's gone and it's out of your mind. And so what I think that humans are looking for so much more at the moment is like that experience, that story, that realness where you go, wow, that's her story. It's a real experience. And I think both of you guys have that available to you because of what's happened with respect to your brands, or how the product has been created. Very cool. I like that angle, Hamen. That's really, really powerful.
Yes. And if you attend the call, we're sharing also other hacks. So I'm going to keep that for the call.
Very good. I'm curious what the main takeaways are from the call, team, in terms of Donna. What were the main things that you perhaps took away from the meeting today? Any key standouts?
Yes, I need an army. So I'm going to be building my army. I'm not going to look like I'm in the army. I'm not going to wear a flak jacket, but I'm going to build my army of content. Yeah, for sure.
Love it. And how about you, Karen? Anything that stood out specifically for yourself?
I think when you spoke about like the bundling, and I think it's also great, I guess, to get the reassurance that you don't have to, smash your consumer with the discount to grow as a business. And I think that's a really healthy mindset to have. So it was really, I guess, reassuring to hear your thought around the bundling, but also specifically around the language piece, because, that it matters a lot, and it's really in the detail. And then, Hamen, I must say, like, I have thought about that so many times. I should really do like a reel where it's me as a founder talking about my experience, and I haven't done it. So to hear you talk about that specifically really hit a nerve with me, and put it down and double cross to like must do this week.
It's also comforting to know that what you said around the pain that we're feeling now is normal. That's comforting.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I think normalizing that and making it okay. I had a big rant about it on the Tuesday call, I think earlier this week, with some of the individuals that were like, I feel like I'm going to give up. I feel like I'm about to wave the white flag. And I'm like, you know how many times that I've wanted to wave the white flag? I reckon that thousands of times. But you just get that one little win and you get that one little moment of hope that goes, yes, maybe I need to try this new thing. And for me, I think the mechanism to keeping that hope constantly alive is learning. Because when you're always learning new things, exactly how you guys are right now, you're excited about the possibility of when you do these things, what happens next. And so when you stop learning and you just continue kind of playing around in this same boring space of the same tools that you have at your disposal, you're kind of like, yeah, this is hard. So it's very important that you're always expanding your mind and looking for new strategies, new opportunities, jumping onto these group calls and just continuing to drive yourself forward. But I think it's very important for both of you, 2 or 3, maximum 3 items that you implement from this call, and implement them ruthlessly and very quickly, and then bring them to the calls with Hamen, the calls with me, and let's demonstrate some of the changes or the improvements that we've made in the next 1 to 2 weeks, because that's how long it should take.
Oh, right. It's actually exciting when you mention this. Every time I'm like thinking, well, that's so exciting. But what I will say here is, whenever you're thinking about difficulty, just remember that everyone, like you're competing against every person, and they have the same challenges. So for me, that's actually good. When I know that when I wake up and I have this challenge, I'm thinking, well, every person have it, right? If they're playing at my level, they should have that challenge. So that kind of what is required. So that actually resonates well with me to keep working, because I think that, well, if this is a challenge that's like there's a certain kind of effort and pain and things to learn, then that's why not every person is doing it, and that's why I should do it, right? And in the same time, your competitor is doing all of these things, so you need to learn about that. So for me, this invisible competitor is the problem, and I keep being obsessed about this invisible competitor because I know they're going to take my market. That's the thing that I'm doing essentially. So every day I'm thinking about it. That person, essentially, I'm visualizing it, and I'm thinking they're smarter, faster, much more aggressive. So yeah, that's why I'm reckless with the ads. Anyway, just to give you a feel of that.
Reckless in a good way. Reckless in a good way.
Yes. I'm saying like reckless in a good way, but I do take risks because I do know that the ads, like that's the door we need to open more. And I've seen many times businesses triple, quadruple in a short amount of time just with that risk of, or I would say that perceived recklessness that's not necessarily there.
Very true. The false ceiling, right? Ladies, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the call. I enjoy the conversations, and I know that there's some key things that you can both do in your businesses to improve growth rate and also make sure that the actions that get taken align in terms of with the goals that you have for your business. So great to have you on here. I'm super excited to continue seeing what comes out of both of your corners as we continue to grow and scale. And thank you again. All right.
Thanks, Sasha. Thanks, Karen. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.